then kind of just led me out east. So
Well, we're going to go over that again because I think Jimmy just got us online.
we did.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We are back tonight. We are on the track. You might remember from right at the turn of the new year, we had a little discussion with two coaches from community colleges in Iowa with Coach Dee Brown and Coach Mark Beerbaum from Iowa Central and Iowa Western. We were going over recruiting and the ins and outs, dispelling some myths about junior colleges, 2-year institutions versus 4-year institutions, and some of the benefits. And tonight we're back with Coach Brown to get a little bit more in depth with who he is as a coach and what the program has been doing over the last 21 years at Iowa Central. So we are excited to get into that with him. But before we do that, make sure you rate and review, subscribe on all of our platforms. Wherever you enjoy your podcast listening, make sure you're dialed in to the Airey Bros, getting those episodes every 2 weeks. And all those episodes are coming out live streaming, typically on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening. So we are back on a Monday night. And just to give you a little bit of a refresher with Coach Brown's resume, buckle up. We got a lot to talk about here. Coach Brown is in his 21st season with the Tritons, having founded the cross country and track and field programs in 2004, and later becoming the director of track and field and cross country in 2018. Under his guidance, the women's cross country team has achieved remarkable success, finishing in the top 6 for 16 consecutive years and claiming the NJCAA record of 8 national cross country titles. The men's team have been national runner-up 6 times and have won 5 NJCAA national championships. And as you know, in the junior college, they have the half marathon championships, which is also scored like a cross country meet. The men's half marathon team holds the NJCAA record with 8 national titles, while the women's team have tied the NJCAA record 6 times. Coach Brown has been honored as the National Cross Country Coach of the Year 14 times, 6 for the men and 8 for the women. He's also received accolades as NJCAA Men's Indoor Track and Field Assistant Coach of the Year 3 times and once for the women's team. Coach Brown has been also recognized 15 times as a Regional 11 Men's and Women's Cross Country Coach of the Year. And over the last 2 decades, 67 men and 64 women from the program have earned NJCAA All-American honors in cross country and or the half marathon. The men's team has produced 9 individual national champions at the half marathon, while the women's team boasts 4 individual national cross country team titles and 5 half marathon championship titles. Coach Brown, thank you for joining us this evening. It is an honor to have you back on Airey Bros Radio. How are we doing this evening?
Thank you for having me. Now I'm excited to be here. So I'm nice and toasty in my basement, ready to get down to business and have some fun with you guys.
And it looks like you're a Cubs fan.
Just one of those things that happens, right? I was a Ryan Sandberg fan and I became a Cubs fan. So
Okay. And as a an Iowa guy, where do people in Iowa, where do they tend to throw their allegiance with the professional sports teams?
see, I am only a baseball fan. I
Okay.
followed the Bulls back in the day, and then I just don't have time for all that. So, but Cubs, White Sox, Kansas City Royals. I mean, I don't know. Some of those Southern Iowa people need to go down to Kansas City for their sports, but we don't have our own team, so we just got to do what we can.
Yeah. That also adds to the rivalries with the Hawkeyes and the Cyclones. I think you see that in
Yes,
states that don't have professional teams, that they
exactly.
have huge supporting communities with the college teams.
Yes, very heated, very loyal fan bases. So,
Yeah. Nice. So, Coach, as we were talking about before Jimmy got us logged on here, but I figured we'd do it again. You know, we have like to present through lines to not only to our guests but to our fans, how we connect and those sorts of things. And so I had mentioned as I was looking through your bio on the website that you are you got your master's degree from Springfield College, and I mentioned that I ran cross country and
yeah.
track and field for 1 year at Springfield College. So we connected a little bit about that. And you said you actually got to take some classes with some of my coaches.
hmm it was a great time. Like I Loved everything about my experience at Springfield College. I would, if you're a Midwestern, I liken it to lacrosse. It's just it's an athletics college, and I loved all my classes. I mean, it was amazing. It was a great experience. I met Jeremy Croy, who has been the Tiffin coach forever. So made some good friends over there and just had a lot of fun and coached some high school while I was at it and just a really good time and getting to see what the East Coast is really like. Got to go to Boston a few times and drive on the turnpike and pay tolls. I mean, I lived the life.
Yeah. Well, we talk about living the life. I might steal your thunder here, Jim, but did you ever go to the spaghetti warehouse?
I don't think so. Where's it at? Is it in Springfield?
Yeah, it was downtown Springfield.
Oh,
That
I
was
don't
Jimmy's
know.
favorite
I'm so
place.
old. There's so many things I don't remember anymore. So I don't remember what I've forgotten, but
Basketball Hall of Fame. Did you make it there?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, the birthplace of basketball. Come on. Like everyone should want to go to school there after that.
Yeah, so we Rich went there for a year, but we also had a cousin that graduated from there. He's probably graduated around the same time you got your master's there, now that I think of it. But
No, he
I
was,
now he graduated high school in 92, so 4 years.
but Coach Brown graduated in
No,
2001, I think it
Yeah, I
was.
oh,
think '01 is when I finished up out there.
oh, all right, my bad. I
Yeah.
thought I thought it was 96. I don't know why, but I spent my childhood driving up there with my aunt like almost
Mhm.
every weekend because when I was a child, I used to talk a lot. So my aunt would bring me to keep her up when she was driving. So I have fond memories of
Yes,
Springfield
yes.
College.
Yeah, no, it was a great time, and on a side note, like I was so fortunate to be there. I was newly married and we had our first child and she was premature and so she spent 81 days in the neonatal intensive care unit at Springfield there. And so for us, like it was a 15-minute drive. And so like you don't really think a whole lot of it. But then we got to know some of the other parents. They're driving from Vermont and New Hampshire, like hours away. And so we were so blessed that we could be there every day and spend as much time as we wanted. So it was just one of those things like the right place at the right time. It was kind of went there on a whim and it was just meant to be. And I guess I feel the same way about Fort Dodge, Iowa and Iowa Central. It's, 21 years. That's a long time to do anything.
Well, and in talking about Springfield College, you kind of led us to what our first question usually is when we talk to people is, what's your origin story? One as maybe as an athlete, because I think a lot of coaches
Hmm.
they're typically, there's not many Frank Gaglianos these days that are
Yeah.
like track coaches. So, maybe start off with your career as a runner
Hmm.
or how that was in Iowa. Mentioned
Yeah.
about the famous little T-shirt you got there in
Yeah.
high school, and then
Yeah.
maybe go back into how that led you to coaching.
Sure, sure. I would say my origin story, it's extremely boring, but at the same time makes me and my programs exactly what we are. I was the untalented, I was the bench warmer of every sport. We had C team basketball. I was the C team. That was the guys that came in for like 1 minute if you were really, 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 really winning. And so I remember we're in junior high and all the high school coaches came to speak to us. And this one goofy looking guy, in spandex is like, well, there's no bench in our sport. And I'm just like, whatever that was, that's for me. And so I end up joining cross country only because of that. And I remember my first day of practice, well, I'm all ready, so that summer I've been training hard. I wake up in the morning, I watch these workout videos, like these guys doing yoga and whatever, like I'm getting fit. I have a cornfield behind my house. I probably ran at 400 meters at least 3 days a week. It's cross country, right? I'm running in the field. Like I figured this was good training. Uh, my mom makes me my favorite meal before my first day of practice. We got ham and scalloped potatoes and cream corn. And, I'm just hammering it, like 30 minutes before I got to go run. Show up to practice and I'm just all listening to coach and just, you know, eating everything up. And we had a 2 mile run for the newbies. First mile was not so bad because it was kind of downhill. And luckily, coach waited for us there, so I knew I could stop and take a breath and talk to him. And then I had to run back that mile. It was barely uphill, but it was a long mile. So I was just that guy where when I finally broke 5 minutes in high school in the mile, that was the bomb. Like that was everything for me. I didn't cut corners. I did everything coach asked me to. I literally would run to a corner and touch the corner like on our routes just to know that I did the whole thing. I'd show up for our long runs like 30 minutes before everybody else because I'd feel bad if I'm making them wait for me. Like I'm not going to be it's just how it was. So I'd be bored. I'd be like counting light poles, trying to keep my mind focused on this, 6 mile long run. But anyway, I was like the last guy on my team for my first 2 years, but I loved it. I loved the people that I was surrounded by. And coming from a larger high school, I think I had like 400 people in my class. And just very clicky like high school is, and I didn't like that. I didn't like all these groups. So I tried not to be a part of anybody's group. But when I found that cross country family, like I fit in so well and they accepted me for who I was and or who I wasn't, honestly. Like I was that guy. I was that last guy. And I finished high school hard worker. I got to be captain of the team. My coach was just this awesome guy who motivated and appreciated every single one of us. It didn't matter if you were first or last. We all got treated equally. And so that's something that's really near and dear on my teams. Like, I'm going to treat everybody the same way. And I don't care if I've had people at Iowa Central that have never run in their lives, and that's okay. Because if you're going to go to class every day and you're going to come to practice every day and you're going to work hard in both, we want you there. That's where that philosophy developed. And I remember when I told my high school coach that I was going to run in college, I think I don't know, he almost choked probably because he's like, are you sure that's what you want to do? But, I went to Luther College. I'd gone to running camp there for a few years and a lot of my teammates had gone there and I just kind of fell in love with the scenery of Decorah, Iowa. It's, Northeast Iowa, the bluffs. It's just beautiful country there. And again, last guy on my team for 2 years and just, working hard, put my nose to the grindstone. And, you know, I think I finally scored for the JV, once my senior year. And again, that was the big deal. I was top 14 on the team. So, but again, it was the people. One of my really good friends, Todd Lane, he's a jumps coach at LSU. He was a captain my junior year. And I just remember him, people like him on the team where we're doing our 15-mile long runs and coach is out there with the water at water stops. And Todd, even though he's, you know, years ahead of me in the 15-mile run, he stops and turns around and comes back and check on me, make sure I'm still alive. I don't know, probably what he was thinking. Coach probably said, make sure he's back there still. And so people like that. And so it's those relationships and those bonds that kind of kept me in running and involved in the sport. But after that, I never dreamt of coaching. Like that was never on the table to be involved in athletics. It was just something I did that kept me happy, kept me centered, having fun, friends, the friends from high school and college I still have. So I went to college to be, actually, I started to go to college to be an actuarial scientist because they make a lot of money. All right. So I had a major in math. I didn't get very far in that endeavor. I think when I took Calc 2 for the second time, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take the minor and I'm out. So I ended up majoring in computer science and business because again, I'm going to make some cash here for myself, right? That's why you go to college. And so I was a computer programmer for a couple of years up in Minneapolis, and it just wasn't fun, like I couldn't see myself sitting behind a desk from 8 to 5 every day for the rest of my life. I missed the relationships and the interactions I had with people. And finally, I had an opportunity to go back to Luther as an assistant coach via being a computer programmer for a couple of years. So I did that. And I would go to work an hour early so I could get off work an hour early so that I could go help coach and be involved. And I loved it. And so at that point, I knew I want to do this as my job. Like this is what I need to be. And these are the people I want to be surrounded by. So that's when I just started looking at grad schools and found Springfield College. And that was almost all she wrote. I got my degree out there and I just absolutely loved all my classes. It was a master's in physical education and it was called like advanced level coaching program. Oh, that sounds perfect, right? I want to be a coach, get a coaching program. and end up going back to Luther again to teach for a couple years because they needed someone, and that just kind of fell into that. But right after that, I decided I need to be coaching full time. Like this is what I got to do. So I had a year left in my contract, and I told them no, I'm going to go be homeless, put all my stuff in storage, and my wife and I just we looked for opportunities, and I knew when I interviewed at Iowa Central. Like that's all I thought about when I went for a run every day after that was, man, because I love hard work. I love biting off more than I can chew. It's always been something about me. And I'm like, starting a program. That sounds perfect. I don't know what a junior college is. I don't understand that. But every day I'd be thinking about like things my old coaches did that I liked, things that I didn't like, things that I'm going to change, things I'm going to do differently, things I want to do the same. Man. And so if they hadn't called me back and offered me the job, I don't know what would have happened. But luckily that came my way, and that's all she wrote, I guess.
So starting the program there, and I know Iowa Central because of the wrestling program. I know a
Sure.
lot of our listeners know Iowa Central because of the wrestling program, but they're good across the board at all sports. The
Yeah.
more I kind of dive into it. So was there that pressure going in starting the program there?
I don't know that I really knew that when I got there. I didn't know anything about, like I said, the junior college or Iowa Central. My brother went to a community college where he just drove, 10 minutes to the one building and drove back. And so that's all I knew about it. And when I visited and I saw apartments and cafeteria, I was kind of blown away. I was taken aback. I'm like, is this still a junior college? But I remember my first day of work was an all staff meeting in the cafeteria, and the president's introducing some new people, myself and the rodeo coach. All right. We never had rodeo, so she's in the same feeling I'm having to make us stand up and we're starting rodeo now, and here's our rodeo coach. We're starting track and field and cross country, and here's our coach. And hear the murmurs, and people are like, oh, why are we starting more athletic programs, put money into, teaching and faculty. And so I'm kind of like, oh, dang, like not everybody's excited as I am to be here. But after that, I don't know, it was fun because like I shared a cubicle, I shared a room. So I was cubicle mates with Luke Moffat, our wrestling coach. So I think he started maybe a few months or so before me within the year. But it was fun. Like we were in the trenches together, and I just saw all these sports kind of, go that way, and being a big part of it was definitely enjoyable. So I don't know that I felt the pressure at that time because that was 2 decades ago, but since then we've really been lucky to have the administration we have to allow us to do the things we can do and the support. But obviously the coaches we have are great, and the students work hard and believe in the same dream. So
What was kind of that aha season or moment for you where you realized, oh, I've got something here. It's more than just the love. I'm actually pretty good at this.
that's I don't know. I've had that. I've never funny. I've never thought that about myself, but I tell you, I like to bite off more than I can chew. So like right away, one of my goals, because it was just me and I had one full-time assistant. And so my goal for our program, as silly as it may sound, I don't know who's listening, I want the best track and field program in the state. Like that's my goal. Like I know what UNI has in Iowa State and Iowa and all the other D3 schools. I want the best, most competitive program in the state. So that's just kind of where we started. And after like probably the second year, just the numbers that we had in our program, 70, 80 kids, like that was an aha right there. Like, wow, this is kind of cool. But again, 20 years ago, we're basically the only junior college with track and field. There's a few others there's three of us that had cross country. So there wasn't a lot of options. The big job that I had was getting the word out that this is an opportunity for some people that have never considered it. So I snatched a few from the football team that were definitely better track athletes, and talked to guidance counselors and high school coaches, and just got the ball rolling from there. So, but I guess now that I think about like the one moment that I had where my disbelief, it was my second year cross country nationals when our guys got second in the nation. It was like I almost fainted. Like like I knew they were good. I didn't know how good they were. But they went out there and competed. I remember like as the scores are tabulated, I'm just kind of like I'm off away from everybody else, kind of in the weeds. We're at University of Kansas there, and I'm just like, What's going to happen? What did we just do? How well did we do?" Like I didn't know, and when I heard second, like it was just like a punch in the gut because I couldn't believe it. Like I couldn't breathe. It was amazing, but it was so fun, and I caught a lot of flack for it from a lot of other coaches and programs that didn't really understand what we were doing. Because at that time we had, I don't know, 7, 8 Sudanese refugees that were on our team. So this is when most of the JuCo teams were mostly American, and so they were thinking we have all these international athletes on our team when we really only had one Kenyan athlete, and the rest were kids from Iowa. They were refugees from Sudan. They went to Iowa high schools and suffered through the system as it was, and now they had an opportunity to run and get an education. And the experience I had with those guys over maybe 4 or 5 years was definitely life changing just because, again, coming from Iowa and Dubuque, Iowa, we're like 99.9% Caucasian, and knowing one way of life, like the chance to learn about other people and especially their struggles and how they got here, uh, it was unfathomable for a while. Like just to understand their stories, like what they had gone through was incredible and a testament to them and their desire and work ethic for themselves, but mostly for their families. And so, doing that with that group of kids, that was a lot of fun to see them have success, and then which allowed them to get on, take that next step in life for dreams they never thought they could get to. They never expected to be high school graduates or college graduates and have jobs. And so I'm still in touch with most of them, and it's pretty cool. Now they have families and everything. So, and they're as old as I am, probably. Who knows? I don't know.
So would you start a program? I mean, what is your mindset? What is your approach coming into that? Is it I have to focus solely on recruiting? Obviously, you said you had some luck finding some kids in Iowa that happen to
Yeah.
be refugees, but how does that all come about for you?
Yeah, I knew like again, goal number one was getting the word out, letting people know we existed. And I knew like in Wisconsin and Minnesota, there weren't any uh JUCOs with track and field or cross country. So I thought I need to try to hit them hard as well. But also another goal for me was I wanted a well-rounded team. Um, Obviously I'm a distance guy. I coach distance. I know not enough about anything else to be a decent, barely below average coach at anything else. But I knew like if I wanted a track and field team that wanted to be the best in Iowa, I wanted a well-rounded team. So, I recruited every event as hard as I could. I had a handful of like 4 coaches that were on stipends that lived in the area that could coach the sprints and the jumps and the hurdles for it and the throws. And so yeah, it was just again, and it's a junior college. So it's nonstop recruiting, because every year 75% of our teams are brand new. It doesn't matter what happened year one. If I have 80% of my kids are brand new year one. They're not all going to be back because they're all here for different reasons. Some maybe started somewhere else and they're coming here to fix or finish something and move on. And some are lucky enough to move on sooner than others. And some come in with prior credit. So it's recruiting, recruiting, recruiting. There's no off seasons in our sport and there's no downtime in recruiting. So it's just finding people that want to work hard. And I was lucky, the guy that I hired, David Barwin, who came in to be my assistant, he had that same mentality. And so he was relentless as well with recruiting and worked hard. And I think that's really what helped really get our program on the right track right away.
And, we talked about it previously on the previous episode with Coach Beerbaum about how just the landscape of recruiting has changed so much where I'm sure when you first started in '04, a lot of your evenings were probably spent making phone calls and
Yeah.
doing that sort of stuff. And
Hmm.
that's doesn't really exist anymore, does it?
No, no, like you got to text a kid and hope he texts you back to schedule a phone call that you might have later. Yeah, it's so crazy how different everything is. We still get referrals from other coaches, other schools, high school coaches, college coaches, but even the kids that will fill out the recruitment form, you assume they have some level of interest, but it doesn't always mean they're going to get back to you when you contact them. So it's tough, and I always try to tell kids, be accountable, be responsible. It starts at that age. If you're not interested, just tell me no. I hear no all the time, and that's okay. I'm going to respect you more for especially a kid that I've maybe developed a relationship with because we've been talking for a while. When you call me down the road in 3 months to tell me no and tell me your decision, I'm going to respect that a whole lot more because you cared and you took the time to thank me for my time, whatever it was, and tell me, hey, I decided to go this route because, and I'm going to say, congratulations. That's a good fit. I hope that works out. Best of luck. I'm going to see him at meets, down the road, and we're going to say hi, and that's great. But I just wish everyone was still built that way.
Yeah. Well, coming from, I guess from the incoming perspective and maybe even the outgoing perspective, being there for 2 decades, have you been able to create some pipelines in terms of, maybe specific high schools that you've gotten multiple athletes from and or going out?
Sure.
Have you
Yeah,
built some
there's
relationship with some universities?
Yep, and it always is doing that no matter what. But yeah, so it's, maybe I know there was a 4, 5, 6 years where Coach Jim Pat Darcy down in Katy, Texas. I'm not even sure how that started, but I had probably 6 or 7 kids from his high school. I drove down there once in the middle of the season and visited with a room full of kids, and I think 2 of them had come that year, and 3 of them had come, a year or two later. I'm always hitting my own high school hard when I can, but yeah, and same thing with the universities. I have quite a few kids that have gone to Wichita State with Kirk Hunter, who is the former Butler Community College coach. I've had quite a few kids run for Chris Bucknam at University of Arkansas. So yeah, there's always, and a lot of us we go to the convention together every December, and so everybody knows everybody. And if you don't, it's real easy just to talk and say hi, hey, I got this kid, or because I'll do that for my athletes. If they're not having luck trying to find a school, I'll send out some feelers. Hey, be honest with me. I got this guy. He's run this times, or she's got these grades and done this, that, and the other thing. What do you think? And then they can honestly say, hey, you know, if they run this time, or hey, right now our roster is full, or whatever. And so it's helpful to be able to honestly pick up the phone, or be able to communicate with any coach in the US, and 99% of us we're going to be honest and get back to you right away. So it's a good group of people.
Yeah. Coach Buckman, he's a former Northern Iowa guy, yeah?
Yes, yes. And so that was a big part, him and Travis Geffert, they left UNI and went down to Arkansas. And oddly enough, I didn't find this out for years, but my wife served, she was in the same unit as Chris's son. So they drilled together. So found that out later in life. Like, oh, I had no idea. So yeah,
Small
quite the
world always gets
connections everywhere.
smaller.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always something.
Coach, you mentioned as a runner, both high school and college, not being the best guy on the team, but you love to run.
Hmm.
And you also brought up that you can utilize anyone on your team. You have first time runners that are
Hmm.
on the team, but like we said at the beginning, you've won 8 cross country titles on the women's side and 5 on the men's. How do you utilize someone who's never run before, but you're competing for a national title? How
Sure.
does that work? And is
Yeah.
there a clash between athletes?
No, not at all. Great thing is, like, in cross country, there is a spot for everybody. Everyone, and I tell everybody this, like, everybody has a role on this team, on day one. We may not know what that role is right now, but there is a role for you, and we can all be leaders if we choose to be. Some people will lead by example, some will lead, because they're fast, or, this guy is more outspoken, or she's doing well in school, and people follow that trend. But I really feel like everyone can contribute in some way. And so I try to help them find that way. We have some kids that will tutor other kids, or, or they're roommates. And so, she's making sure she's on time all the time, whatever it is, but there's always something they can do. And so, we do a team building camp right away at the beginning of the year for them to get to know each other. And I think that helps a lot. So that way they can trust each other. They know each other a lot better, and it just helps us work together. Doesn't matter if, this guy's going to run 22 minutes and this guy's going to run 32 minutes for 8K. It's not a big deal. We're on the same team. Because again, if you're going to class every day and you're coming to practice every day and you're working hard in both, that's the criteria. And we all know that and we all believe in that. So who cares if he's not fast or she's not fast, like they're out there busting their butt. That's how you get to go to the meet, by working hard and showing up every day. So you're not, just because you're running 22 minutes doesn't mean you're working harder. And it's usually those guys at the back of the pack that are working harder just to be average. But no, no clash, no conflict, and it's more people to love. So
Coach, we always say we do this podcast for our younger selves. I could have used the conversation with you when I was a younger
yeah,
athlete and a younger coach. So I really appreciate that
yeah.
insight. And you bring up having to make phone calls, having to do the recruiting, and you're the distance guy and you have other people for the other events.
Mhm.
What does your CEO role look like as far as how do you delegate? What are you spending the most time on? How much time a week is dedicated to making phone calls or text messages? What's that look like?
I feel like I'm doing paperwork all the time. I don't know. I feel like that's what my job is. It just depends on the time of year. Like right now with track just getting going again, it's a lot of eligibility paperwork and making sure we got the right documents, because we're, again, being a large and successful junior college, we're always under more scrutiny, whether it's from the national office or from other schools. So we're always making sure our ducks in a row and we have all the proper paperwork and it's all in a nice little file. So at any given moment, we can send that out if need be. Um, but I try to dedicate at least one work day a week to recruiting, where I'm messaging or getting back to kids or hunting down some new leads or talking to coaches or whatever it is. Uh, Sundays and Mondays are just filled with planning the training, for this week and the week coming up, and travel arrangements, making sure we got all the, again, with a large team, how many buses do we need and how many butts are we going to fit in these seats, and is the food ordered and all that jazz. But, it's like a recruiting coordinator, director of ops, head coach, assistant coach. But at the same time, like I have great people around me. I have a head track and field coach. She's amazing. She basically had my job when she was at Edinburgh. She was the director there as the track and field head coach. So she knows exactly what to do. And so when she came, this is her second year. Her first year, it was an easy transition. She's just kind of learning the Iowa Central way of things, but she knows the questions to ask and what to expect. So, we're lucky to have a coach for each event group, so our head track coach, she's our jumps and multis coach. We have a full-time throws coach, a full-time sprints hurdles coach, a full-time assistant cross-country coach who also takes care of the mid distance. And then we have a part-time pole vault coach as well. So again, that's just because of what we do. We're a numbers driven organization, and they always tell us that, like recruit, 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 whether you're recruiting for my team or the president's team, the numbers, we got to get that quota. We got to fill the quota, get those kids in. And because of that, we'll get the scholarship money we get, and we'll get more assistant coaches. Because like I said, when I first started, it was me and one full-time guy, and that was it. So now there's, six of us here. So we've grown tremendously, and got to keep doing our job to keep what we have, type thing. So
You said the head coaches came from Edinburgh,
yes, yeah, out east somewhere. I
like
don't know.
Division One Fighting
I
Scots, Edinburgh,
I
huh?
I don't know. After the Mississippi, I thought was the ocean, so I really didn't know what else is up.
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
so so Edinburgh is Division One in wrestling, but they're Division Two in all
Yes.
other
Yep.
sports. That's
Yep.
correct. But I think that's important for the guests to understand that, because of you and your program, that people always think like you're always trying to work your way up, up the
Good
ranks,
point.
and like the ultimate goal is always Division One, Division One, Division
Yeah.
One. But here's a coach that was coaching Division Two, who's now took the head coach role at
Mhm.
a Division I junior college.
Yeah. And it's been a great fit. And it's funny because that also reminds me when I first started at Iowa Central, our athletic director at the time, he was our men's basketball coach, had been there 30 plus years. I said, with as much respect as I can, why are you still here? Because at that point, being young, you're always thinking, what's the next step? What am I going to do next? And again, at that point in my life, I'd only done anything for 2 years. Every 2 years, I'm doing something different. So I thought I'd be at Iowa Central for 2 to 5 years, and then move up. But he told me, he's like, well, I can help more people right here. I was like, oh, dang, that's a great point. He's right. And I've had some other opportunities. I've explored a couple of them more in depth, but I am still here 21 years later. And that's so true. Like I can definitely help more people right here where I am. And as long as I have the support of my administration, which is extremely important no matter where you are, it'd be hard to find a better opportunity. Every transfer portal, every student, the grass is greener somewhere else. Coach yells at me, I'm going to go here. Um, and even coaches, jumping ship to go bigger and better. Like, even though it's bigger, is it better? Like, because again, if your administration doesn't support your mission and your goals, how happy will you be in a couple years? So, and I've been lucky, like my vice president above me has been the same guy since I started, and he believes in me, and he's been by my side, through everything. So I love what I do. I love helping these kids, and some get it right away, some don't, but at the same time, it's been a lot of fun and it's hard work. It's really hard work. And you always think, wow, it'd be great to coach a kid for 4 years, or it'd be great to be at a school where I have a class that's going to stay longer than a year. But I don't know. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
The other thing you talk about kids changing and coaches changing, but and going up the ladder is
Mhm.
what everyone ultimately always thinks. But you might make that shift as a coach, and then all of a sudden, the athletic director or the president that hired you, they're doing the same thing, and they're making another move, and now all of a
Sure.
sudden, you're someplace where you thought you were taking a chance, and now you have a whole different administration you're working under, and you
Yep.
might not. That's
Exactly.
something to consider too. So,
Yep. And it's been like the same thing for my assistant coaches. I'm all about that. Like I expect that. I expect them kind of be much like the athletes. You come in here as a new young coach or whatever it is, get a few years under your belt, look for opportunities. I'm supportive of that. I'm not going to be mad or upset that you're looking. I just like my athletes, I tell just keep me in the loop. Just be honest and straightforward with me, and I will respect your decision and I will support you and I will help you however I can. I want what's best for you. What's best for you may not be what's best for me in my program, but it's just how it is, like next year's going to come and I'm going to find new coaches or find new athletes, and we're just going to keep working hard to do it all over again. But, I want my athletes to get better and find something better for them. And I want the coaches to do the same thing.
Coach, you were talking at the beginning about wanting to coach and implementing different things that you experienced with your coaches or different things that you would do differently. I'm curious, how has your style or philosophy changed over the last 21 years?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess, let me start with this because I've always described like purely what's your coaching philosophy? Because when you're back in grad school, like that's the big thing, what's your philosophy? And whatever. I've had two people ask me in 21 years, but I always feel like I'm coaching at a Division I university with a Division III mentality. Because again, I'm here for everybody. I want everyone to be successful, but there is that business side of it where sometimes hard decisions have to be made, whether it's with getting people here or once you're here, what opportunities can we do? Um, and so what's changed? I don't know. I'm older, I'm grayer, I might be a
Mhm.
little more grumpy. Depends who you ask. I can tell you who not to ask, but um, I think when I was young, I can give you a good example. When I first started, you're eager to please and you want to be successful as it's defined mostly by society. So, what place did you get at nationals? What did you win? And so over the years, I've definitely learned that there's many more definitions of success that are probably more important than that one of, how good are you? And so I know early on in my career, I had one athlete for sure, but I know I had many athletes that we would have been better off without having. And that's a hard decision to make when you're young and you know that kid's going to go out and score points at the national meet. But while they're doing that, what are they taking away from everyone else's experience? And and again, like I said, that was, I should have pulled the trigger on letting people loose sooner when I was younger, but I couldn't. Now it's not that hard. I'm much, yeah, it's much easier to pull that trigger now because you don't want, again, even, but at the same time, it's a balance because even the same time with those kids, when you're letting them go, like I don't want to kick you out the door and then that be the destruction of you, I guess. Like I still want what's best for them, but at the same time, you also have to weigh what's best for the whole team because I can't have this cancer on the team taken away from everybody else, whether it's on the team, on the bus, being a roommate, but I also want to make sure that that person's taken care of. So, when I do kick kids off the team, depending on the situation and who it is, there's still, I might still be checking up or I might still shoot it. Even if they hate me and they don't want to reply, I don't care, but I might shoot them a text and say, "Hey, saw your grades last semester. Nice job. Keep it up." Or, "Hey, you need to go to that class." Even though they don't want to reply to me, it's like, "You need to go to that class because I see you've been absent." I'm not going to say like, "I saw you've been absent 20 times, but you need to do better." So I'm still going to stick my nose in their business, I guess, to for what it's worth.
Coach, you raised a good point there, and I think I might be asking a question you already just answered. But how do you weigh and measure where, man, I want to get rid of this kid, but there, for some reason, I see something good in you. You have a good
Yeah.
heart, but man, you just
Hmm.
like you keep on putting your nose, you keep on digging holes. Like you keep
Yeah.
on digging holes. I rub your nose in it, and you keep on
Hmm.
doing it. How do you measure that? And at what point do you just like you're unhelpable?
Yeah, that's a tough one because those are the kids that you bring into the office and try to have those heart to hearts where you can see eye to eye and read the body language because it's like it's when you care more than they do sometimes about their path or their goals or what they're doing, like you know and sometimes you got to say, "Hey, what do your parents think?" If you go home right now and drop out of school, what are you going to do? What are people going to say? Like, your parents aren't going to be very happy about that, or someone is just not going to class. Like, you're paying how many thousands of dollars, and what are you going to take away from it at the end of the semester? A bunch of Fs. What is that going to do for you? But it's tough, and I had this one athlete, and it's kind of a similar story, but because he still reminds me of it. So he's a high school coach now, and we talk quite a bit. But he was a very, very talented high school runner that just was not performing near his potential at all in college. And so I was disappointed for our team, but disappointed for him. Like, man, what is going on? And in my opinion, that's how you got to say things nowadays. In my opinion, he was spending too much time on his social life. And so I had just had a very, very blunt conversation about what he was and was not doing in the evenings and what I felt would be a better choice of him to use his time not doing so that he could focus more on school and running. But he was a 4.0, so it was more about running and me being selfish. But he remembers that talk and he's brung that up quite a few times. So it's just one of those life lessons, when kids get to go to college and they're not by mom and dad and, you know, opposite genders around and lots of choices to make or not make. So good
Coach,
times.
the
Yeah.
best.
So there's so much you could focus on.
Yep, that's right.
Coach, you mentioned as you mature as a coach, kind of what you
Mature.
mature. Well, I don't want to say get older, but as you get older as a coach, what you define success as is different. It's not always winning national
Yeah.
titles. It might be, hey, there was a kid who he had no right being in college, but I got him. He
Yep.
graduated. Do you have anything like that that you hold in a higher regard than a time or a national title?
Yeah, that's a big that's like that's all of it right there, the titles, like basically everything Rich said in the beginning. Like I, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't keep track of that stuff. When people ask me, I have to go look in my bio, essentially. That's like the only place like I tally stuff because I'm told I have to do that. Um, because it's not about the titles, it's about the people and what they did together. And so, you're right when you talk about these kids like, you know, sometimes it's no business being in college. I have had a number of kids that just struggle. I mean, there's so many things you can struggle with, right? Like there's so many opportunities to struggle with this, that, and the other thing. And all right, here we go. Great story. So, I had this kid that I recruited out of Illinois. He came here, and you know, the social aspect of anything was definitely a challenge for him. So fitting in was difficult. But luckily for him, he's a runner, so you have that, and that can go a long way sometimes to save some kids. Um, he was fine in school, didn't have a lot of issues academically, but definitely like picking up on social cues and things like that were a challenge for him. Um, he ran some pretty good times eventually. I think as he matured, as he got older, things he just got so much better. Got to go on to a university run Division 1, and if you wanted to Google, he just ran 2:13 yesterday in the marathon, and I'm just like, dang, because this kid, like he's not a kid anymore, but he sets his mind to it and he goes after it, and I think you know. Not always will I say like Iowa Central is a place for you because it's not. It's the place for me and it's a place for some people, but for him, I think that was the perfect choice to help him develop socially with his peers, and then it allowed him to go on and do the things he wanted to do. And it was perfect for him.
Coach, you brought up that one athlete who's now a coach and he wasn't making the right social decisions,
Sure.
maybe having a little bit too much fun.
Yeah.
Do you look at kids and you're like, you are in Fort Dodge. You're in a place where people go to not get in trouble and you're finding it. Like, how do you do that?
It's funny because like so many things like people are like, oh, you know, Fort Dodge, what's Fort Dodge like? And they had all these negative connotations, but at the same time, like this is it's a junior college, but it's like a 4-year school. We have so much going on all the time. You don't have time to go off campus to get in trouble. Like it's just not there, Like we're practicing every day. We have study hall every Monday and Thursday night. We're gone every Friday and Saturday for competition. So if you have all that free time, you should be doing something else. Like it's just not there. So I think we do a pretty good job with our program and the college as a whole. And, because we have all these athletic teams. So, we got basketball games on Wednesday nights to go to. We have other teams to support at their home events. So there's always something going on campus. Our student activities is bringing, hypnotists and all these shows and stuff. So there's so many things to do and to be a part of if you don't have homework to do that. uh, I don't know. I don't kind of strayed from your question there, but I feel like, they got it all here and it's just about what kind of decisions you want to make, you know?
Yeah. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
exactly.
if you're in Fort Dodge, Iowa, or Los
Yep.
Angeles, or
Yeah.
New Orleans. That's
Yep.
just
You want to find it,
human
you're going to
nature.
find it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Coach, what are other questions we like to ask all the coaches is academically, what are there any sort of unique? I know also from a 2-year school, there might be some more like work related, vocational type things. What is Iowa Central known for? What are kids leaving with
Sure.
degrees in usually?
We have it's almost easier to start with what we don't have, but the majority of our students do come in just to get their general
Mhm.
Associate of Arts degree so they can transfer and move up the ladder athletically. But we do get a lot of students that come in just to do their tech programs, do their 2 years, be a college athlete, and then go join the workforce. So we have a dental hygiene program, we have radiology, nursing, We have, I think, three different automotive diesel tech type programs. We have a construction, culinary arts. Oh my God, I should have said culinary arts from the beginning because my office, I share a wall with the kitchen. Some days I come in and I'm just like, I'm just waiting because a lot of times their students after they're done cooking and baking things, they'll bring it out. Like, so there's free food all the time. And so some days I'm just like drooling and there's nothing out there. I'm just like, what is going on? What is the smell? And so like today they had chili and they had beef and barley soup. Oh, and they had bagels with some amazing dip. And there's always some delicious food. So culinary arts, Chef Michael Hurst, that's the program we have at Iowa Central that you want to do. So.
Nice. Excellent. And then talking about, the peoples in the program, what, or I should say, how are things shaping up into 2025? You mentioned before we logged
Yeah.
on, you already had two meets,
Mhm.
probably getting closer and closer towards the championship part of the indoor season at least. And what are we hoping for, looking for, shooting
Yeah.
for the outdoor season?
Well, since I know Coach Beerbaum's going to listen to this, I'm looking to get a regional title for the men and the women, both indoors and outdoors, by a lot of points, hopefully. No, the nice thing is like what I define nice, kind of like how we define success. But with Iowa Central, Iowa Western, Indian Hills, like it is so competitive. But it's great because like a lot of athletes think they have to go to this really big Division 1 meet to get competition. You go to our regional championship and it is so competitive and it doesn't there's not a lot of people but it's competitive and that just brings out the best in all of these athletes, which is amazing. But yeah, our team, I'm excited for this year. Our mid and distance guys have already opened up with some great times. We had a 404 mile last weekend, another guy 812 in the 3K. We have a female triple jumper that's hopefully going to be busting out here pretty soon. Just again, a well-rounded team. We got a great male thrower. Just a little bit of everything. Some good sophomore sprinters that are returning. So, yeah, I'm excited. And I don't like to talk much about my own stuff, but we do have a really strong mid and distance group. So I'm really excited to see how they do. Just because, again, they work so hard and as we talked about before we started, they're out in the cold. We're not running on an indoor track. We're out braving the elements. And I had a kid from Florida come up one year and he didn't want to come to Iowa. Like, why go north when you live in Florida? But his coach told him, if you can get it done in Iowa, you can get it done anywhere. And he's exactly right. Like, and it could be Iowa, it could be Kansas, it could be Minnesota. I don't care. But we got every season all the time. If you can stick it out and survive it here, it's a piece of cake anywhere else. So maybe not
Is
out
that
east. You guys got your own challenges, but
is that young man from Florida? Is he a junior college coach as well now?
no, I think he's a police officer now. So
Okay,
because we also have a criminal justice program too.
awesome. We talked about the distance, mid distance and distance runners, and we also saw that you have a strength and conditioning certification from the USTFCCCA. So Jimmy and I are both, kind of gym rats and strength and
Mhm.
conditioning coaches and dabbled in that. And I always love to do that sort of stuff with the distance runners at the high school level. And I feel like that's one thing that sets me apart from a lot of high school coaches is the ability to be able to coach strength and conditioning and
Mhm.
do it well. Do you have maybe some key movements or exercises that you like to do with the guys that you think maybe set them apart? Help them run 812 and 404?
Sure. I'm going to fall flat on this question because that's one of the responsibilities of all. I try to give that to my assistant coach to allow them because you got to find something for everybody to do. And so I want them to kind of develop their skill set there. So my last 3 or 4 years, I've kind of let my assistant coaches take care of that stuff. However, I strongly believe when we move in August, like August 1st is day one of practice, we do core every day, so 6 days a week. We'll start out at maybe 30 minutes, but we're going to build up to about 45 minutes to an hour of core. And you're going to do each movement for about, like you're going to front plank 60 seconds, side plank 60. So you're just going to go around and so I really feel like before we step foot in the weight room, we need to have that taken care of and that addressed first. Because some of these kids, like, they have no business stepping foot into a weight room. Like, it's a danger to them and everyone else if they're in there type thing, where you need to build up that strength and confidence, honestly, before they get to the weight room and start doing stuff like that. But we do a lot of hip flexor mobility with hurdle drills. It's a big staple of what we do. 'Cause I think that's important, not just for our steeplechasers, but honestly for every athlete on the team. That's a big deal. So, um, yeah. So once we've accomplished that, and then we kind of progress into what they're doing in the weight room and what's involved. Because now we might move into medicine balls 1 day a week and doing that stuff before we're doing any type of lifting or moving of weight, essentially. So.
Yep. Thank you.
Coach, last one I got for you before we get in the final four. If Rich doesn't have anything left for you, is there anything about the program that we haven't on, about the college that we haven't spoke on, that you want potential recruits or parents to know about Iowa Central?
It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, we covered quite a bit of ground here, but again, uh, in general, I think just letting recruits understand that they being honest and upfront with coaches is by far the biggest thing. Be honest with us, whatever it is, so we're not wasting each other's time. But like I said, Iowa Central is a great place. It's not for everyone, and for any student, any recruit, visit at least 3 schools. Don't commit after seeing the first school. If you Hopefully you can at least do some visits. I know some people can't and they got to commit without seeing, but we do virtual visits as well, and we have a virtual tour, so it's better than nothing if you're from the corner of the US or a different part of the world, because I really feel like when you're on that campus and you feel, yeah, I, I can see myself here. That's important. Like that aha moment, that they got to have that. And so sometimes it might require coming back and doing a second visit to, your final couple of schools, but I think it's important for them to see a variety of places. My parents made me go visit Iowa, Iowa State, UNI. I didn't go to any of them. And it was rough because, we're from Dubuque, so we're right by close enough to Iowa City. We're Iowa Hawkeyes through and through over there. And I visited Iowa City, and it was not what I expected. Um, it wasn't for me, it was the big school in the middle of the city, and as opposed to Iowa State, which I was raised to dislike with every fiber of my being. I really liked their campus, how it was kind of off by itself and encompassed, and it was beautiful. And it was really hard, because I'm like, I need to hate this school. I need to like this school, but it was the other way around. But, so I did that and I visited Luther but I think it's important for students because they need to see a variety and talking to the coaches. Because when a student comes and talks to me, I say, hey, were there kind of like your interview right now? Was there anything that Coach Beerbaum asked you that I didn't cover yet? Or after you go visit Iowa Western tomorrow, as you're swinging through Iowa, give me a call and we'll touch base on anything that maybe he brought up that we didn't talk about, or vice versa. It's making sure those kids understand. And I probably do a better job of telling my athletes this than I do the recruits. But when you're looking at that school or that next school, you're interviewing them, right? Like especially, I think I learned that lesson with one of my top athletes a few years back, Adva Cohen. She could have gone to any school she wanted, and she had this list of 6, and we had this very extensive list of questions because that's what we were doing. We were interviewing those coaches to see if this was a good fit for her. Was she going to be able to accomplish her goals there? Now, again, not every student athlete is as invested in their athletic career and future, because she's looking at Olympics, and what can I do beyond college. But at the same time, knowing what your goals are and asking those questions of those coaches, even if it's a hard question, you still need to ask. And I get kids ask me about money all the time, right? I mean, that's just the number one question, and some people probably have no business asking that question, but it's a fair question, because if you don't ask, how are you going to know? You don't be afraid to ask any question. I'm not going to ridicule you. I'm going to give you the straight answer. I'm going to be as honest as I can. I'm not going to put a timeline on a kid. I hate that. And I know some schools have to do that. It's just the way they operate, or some coaches prefer that. But, especially for an international student, that's like the biggest decision of their life. Like you're going to come across the ocean to a place you've never been. I'm not going to tell you you have to give me a decision by next week. Like you're going to decide when it's time for you to decide after you've had time to talk to every school you wanted and met with your family. And I'm gonna offer that Zoom call with your family if they want, because I know, if I'm sending my daughter overseas, I want to see who's taking care of her. And so if mom and dad need to see a face of where they're going, let's talk, let's put them at ease or give them some comfort knowing that, yes, I'm going to be taking care of your baby for the next 2 years type thing. So
Coach, I think that's really important for recruits to know, hey, you need to have some questions and you need to be asking the same questions and kind of weighing and measuring the answers you're
yeah.
getting. Because I don't think that was anything that I was even thinking of. It was, I want to wrestle. Can I wrestle
Yes,
here? Can I
yes,
be
yeah,
successful? Like
yeah,
national championships,
yeah.
you
That's
know?
all you want to know. Like, can I wrestle here? Can I be on the team? Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And I lied. I have another one before the Final
All right.
Four. I know we kind of joked when you were on with Coach Beerbaum of like, oh, we got a Chili's coming in. Is there any hidden gems in Fort Dodge? Any
No,
kind of
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. It's opening
Chick-fil-A?
soon. Yeah,
Okay.
opening
Okay.
soon.
Opening soon. Is there any hidden gems, any greasy spoons, any kind of like, oh, if I take you here, you're gonna get a good meal?
So I've only been to this place a couple times, but this is what everybody talks about in this area is Taco Tico. You got to go to Taco Tico. Um, and I love Mexican. I don't know. I love everything, so I'm not going to be too picky. But Taco Tico is where you got to go to get your food. So. But when they put Arby's in a few years ago, that was it. I mean, I'm an Arby's guy. I like my roast beef, and if you want to put some cheese on it, even better, and some sauce, like let's do this. But I'm excited for Chick-fil-A, but I'm never excited for the lines at Chick-fil-A, so I'll probably still go to Arby's.
Yeah, they can be pretty intense. Coach, I just want to say the same thing, kind of piggybacking off of what you said and what Jimmy said, is that I think it's so important for high school kids and not even high school kids, but college kids and junior college kids, not even from an athletic perspective, to realize that you have the opportunity to interview a coach just as much as they're kind of interviewing you to get a feel for what's the
Mhm.
best fit for you. But I think even to take that a step further for student athletes is when you're getting into the workforce is to you have to have that same mindset. And as much as you are nervous that first time you go in for a
Mhm.
job interview, like
Yeah,
you have to have some questions, even if they're stock questions, but have four
right.
or five questions that you can fire back at your interviewers or the interview, multiple people. Because again, I think it's important that, just as much as you feel like you're being interviewed, you should have some questions to interview with them. It's a
Definitely.
good practice to have in life, just as recruits or when you get into the workforce.
100% because you want to know. I mean, not all of us are blessed to have multiple opportunities, but if you do, like you want to pick the right one. So you want to know that you're getting the right fit for yourself.
Yeah.
Final
Final
Four,
four, Jim?
Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Coach, I'm gonna kind of pre-emphasize this first one, but I want to thank you because you were like a cup of coffee when before we came on. I was kind of dragging butt, and now I'm excited. I'm stoked. I know Rich is kind of feeling the same. Like, man,
My cup of
wish we
coffee
had
right
that.
here. Yep.
Wish we had that DeLorean and go run for
Mhm.
Coach Brown at Iowa Central. So first, you said you have your cup of coffee right there.
Yep.
How do you brew your coffee? How do you take it?
Well, I'm not an instant coffee person. I've been doing just save a little money because I did go to the K cups and the pods for a while. I'm like, God, it's so expensive. So then I would buy it and put it in the refillable cup. But then for Christmas, my daughter, she got me a grinder. So I just told her tonight, I said, honey, because I will grind up quite a bit at a time. Like, honey, we need to grind some more beans tonight. She's like, okay, daddy. That's why I got she's excited for life. So she painted my nails last night and grinding my coffee tonight. You know,
No problem sleeping this late, or you got some recruiting text to send out after
no,
this?
now I do. Thanks. No,
So that no decaf, right? You just
no, I, I'm at that point in my life where I will go to bed around 11:30, 12, and I'm up at 6. So I don't know.
okay.
It's all good.
Right.
Plus, I'm counting on the virtual work day tomorrow, okay?
Oh, that's true. True. Forgot about
Yeah.
that. Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Dee Brown?
Hmm. Well, I can tell you if I don't have coffee in the morning, that is probably a problem. But it's not like a religious thing where some people are like, like I'm just not fully awake yet. So as soon as I get up, have that coffee. Um, Usually I have older kids and younger kids. So my older kids are out of college and gone, but I have a 9 and 12-year-old at home. So the ritual is waking their butts up, getting them ready for school, getting them out the door. And it's good just to see them, even if they're a pain in the can that day or not. But just kind of warms my heart just to see them and see these little terrors. I mean, little youngins growing up to be whatever they're going to be. So when I have to leave like for nationals and I'm gone for a week, like the nice part of getting to sleep as much as I want because no one's going to interrupt me, but yet I miss my kids because like I just want to see them. Just know they're there, know they're all right. So that definitely makes me a better person and a happier person. So and go into work and what fires am I going to put out today? So
Has being a parent made you a better coach, and has being a coach made you a better parent?
yes, yes. Like I said, I think before we got on the air, my daughter, my firstborn, she was 3 months premature, so that was just a whole experience. Like for a first child too, it was like, wow. But the lessons I learned through that whole experience, um, going through a divorce was a learning experience because, and I've told other coaches this too, like being married to a cross country and track and field coach is the hardest job there is out there because we're year round. We are in season all year round. We're recruiting nonstop. There's no summers like other sports. They get summer off. What the heck? No, I'm going to state track meets and all-star track meets. And, like if I get like 2 weeks at most, and then I got to get ready for the kids to move in by August 1st. So, um, it's helped me at that time. I guess when I went through my divorce, it helped me understand like my priority needs to be a better father. That needs to be not that I was a bad father, but that needs to be my number one job right now. My daughter was five-ish, six-ish at the time. And I knew like as important as starting this, and this was maybe a couple years after I started Iowa Central. So while that was a huge focus of my life, I need to make sure that I was centered. And so for myself, my dumb story, because some of my athletes will remember this, and I don't know if Coach Jaffet, I saw him on your show. I don't know if he was with me at that time, but um, I stopped cutting my hair. I hate hair. Okay, I hate hair. It's always short. This is long. I hate hair. This is whatever. But I stopped cutting my hair and I grew it really long because when I would wake up in the morning, I'd be like, you see all that? That's reminding me that my first job today is to be a good dad, whatever that is. And she wasn't living with me, so there's a lot more work involved, but that was my priority. So family's always been big for me. My children love them to death. And I've kind of lost track of your question, but at the same, because again, I'm getting old and so I don't remember
Yeah.
everything anymore. Um, but yes, so yeah, parent, coach, parent. And so when we take our team retreat in August, um, so we move in July 31st, August 1 is first day of practice. Whenever that first Sunday pops up, we'll go away for 5 days to northern Wisconsin to a nature center, North Lakeland Discovery Center in Manitowish Waters, Wisconsin. Great place, about 7.5 hour drive if no one has to go to the bathroom. That doesn't happen. So we go up there. My entire coaching staff goes. So all the track coaches, because it's important for them, because otherwise they don't get to meet the cross country kids until January. So it's important for them all to get to know each other. And then my family comes as well. So my wife comes, she's kind of runs the kitchen for me, and being military, she does well at that kind of thing, which is good because like when she wasn't there back before her time, we didn't eat very well. It's like we're gonna have this and this, and there's no variety or anything at all. But now we have a pretty decent menu, and so my kids are there, and sometimes my grown kids, I have a 20 25 and 29-year-old as well. So sometimes they're, when work allows, they're with us too. And so it's important because I want my athletes to see how I interact with my family and my children and vice versa. I want my kids to see that too, because I'm not going to treat people differently. I'm going to treat you fairly. I mean, there's differences. So I'm going to treat you all fairly. Okay. I'm not going to treat you better or differently because you're a faster runner. You know, we're all held to the same standards on my team. I don't care who you are. We all have the same standards that we have to live up to and the same expectations. So I think that's a huge part of what we do, you know. So if it's me having to discipline my child in front of my athletes, I'm going to do that. And they're going to know, like, when it's their turn, I'm going to act the same way to them. And it's not like I'm going to be any outrageous, you know, flying off the handle type thing, but you know, it's just as how this is Coach Brown. This is how Coach Brown really is. You see him here around the campfire yelling at his kids to shut up or to go to bed, whatever it is. Like, you know, I'm not going to put on a face. And I know coaches do that all the time recruiting, and it's hard not to, but when we're all there for those 5 days at camp, I want them to see me for who I am, because that's just going to make our relationship better because we will understand each other sooner, and that's important.
Thank
That
you.
was a long answer. I'm sorry about that.
That was good.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I Okay. I don't listen to music unless it's Bon Jovi.
Yes.
It's
We're
from out
Jersey
east, right?
guys.
Like,
We're
We're from
Jersey guys.
Jersey.
okay. All right. Whew. So yeah, I get ridiculed a lot because I know nothing. Like my 9-year-old daughter, she knows like the radio. I don't listen to the radio ever. I never do. But I know Bon Jovi, so I know all of his songs by heart. Back in the day, I know all the Beastie Boys, you know, by heart. Like I don't remember who else, but whatever. My first audio cassette was Michael Jackson's Thriller and Footloose by Kenny Loggins. So that was
Let's
what was playing
go.
at my tape recorder.
Coach, we could
Um,
hang out.
yes, all right. But other than that, so now I'm an audiobook all because I'm driving the bus. All right.
Mhm.
So I drive 30 minutes to and from work. I live outside of Fort Dodge in Webster City, Iowa. So audiobooks all the time. I will listen to anything. I will call my 29 or 25-year-old and ask them for recommendations. I will listen to, you know, young adult fantasy stuff, you know, like Harry Potter. Like I've listened to the whole gamut. So
What you listening to right now?
okay, like I said, I'll listen to anything. All right.
No
So,
judgment here,
all
coach.
right, all right, all right. So
You're in the trust tree.
I just finished book one of Outlander. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It might
Okay.
be considered a chick flick. I don't know. It's the drama and love and adventure. So I just finished that. I'm in the middle of like 3 or 4 different series as a book comes available. It's like, oh, I'm on book 3 of this and book 7 of that. So it's hard to keep them all straight, but yeah, I'll listen to anything.
Right on.
So I see, I listened to Outlander, so then I watched season 1 of it. So then
Would
I
you
can,
recommend it?
oh yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the book was a little bit different, a little more descriptive as usual, but
Yeah.
they stayed pretty true. So
Okay. Let's check it out.
So, Coach, I am an audiobook junkie as well.
okay,
I'm curious, you mentioned Beastie Boys. Have you checked out that audiobook?
no, did
Look
not know it
into
existed.
So it's really good. There's a different person that reads each chapter. They have like it's very so I I do not like to read.
Yeah,
I have as I said I was a junior college athlete for a reason, and I do not like to read. So I really like the audiobooks, and I like anything that kind of is different than just someone reading. That's like
yeah,
very well done as far
yeah,
as like there's music
yep.
going on, there's different things. So do you have any suggestions as far? I know you mentioned Outlander. I'm curious if that's kind of like got a soundscape and stuff
It's
like that.
very different. You know, I love Stephen King. Like he's my all-time favorite. So anything Stephen King, I'm like all over that. And then John Grisham, you know, any type of book like that. That's actually, I think I'm listening to one of his now. Whoopi Goldberg's reading it to me, so I feel this connection with Whoopi right now. So it's been fun. But yeah, I don't know if I have any good recommendations because, like I said, I'm kind of all over the place and always looking for something new. Or I'm scrolling, what's available? Like I want something right now that's, you know, going to take me like we're going to South Dakota State, so it's 4 hours to Brookings and back. So I need at least an 8 hour book to get me there and back this weekend type thing. So
So I got a suggestion for you
yes,
for your drives, and it is not an audio book, but it's called LeVar Burton Reads, the guy from Reading
yeah.
Rainbow.
Oh, I know. I know Jordy LaForge. Come on.
He's got, well, so I don't even know if it's yes anymore, but all the old episodes are there, and he pretty much reads like a preteen kind of teen book every week. They're like 30-minute episodes.
Really?
And it's all like soundscape. It's all done really well. Rich is laughing because he knows like they're kind of out there, but
Yeah.
I think you'll like it, and he's a great
Yeah.
read.
That's awesome. I love it. Beastie Boys and LeVar Burton. I just got two big things out of this podcast. I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. And the last one we do have for you, Coach, could be food. We know you have some young kids. Maybe, oh, you said you didn't really listen to music, so we know you're not a closet Swiftie. But
No, no.
do you have a guilty pleasure?
Reese's peanut butter cups.
All right, we get down with
100%.
that.
Like it's funny because in my maturing, and we use maturing loosely, like mature, like I'm the most immature 50 something year old person there is. But like I would eat any kind of candy, my daughter does now, but I am not like Skittles. Like I'm not into the sugar so much, but chocolate and peanut butter. I mean, how can you not? Like I love peanut butter cups. Love them.
The traditional ones, the big cups. Do you get the
I
ones with the
I'll go
potato
any.
chips? Any of them?
I don't want the pretzel. I'm not a pretzel
Okay.
guy, so keep the stinking pretzels out of there. Um, I don't need a potato chip in there either, but I'll
Okay.
take the big cups. I'll
Big
take
cup.
the crunchy peanut butter, but so usually at Christmas time I'm getting some type of peanut butter cup in some shape, form. I got a Reese's peanut butter cup spatula because I got like this little kit to make my own cookie and a little frying pan, like whatever.
Nice. We get down with some peanut butter cups, don't we, Jim?
Yes, we do. Coach Brown, we could definitely hang out. We could
All right.
listen to some audio books, eat some peanut butter
Yes.
cups. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Yes.
Already knew about Fort Dodge because wrestlers, because it's like UFCU. All the good
Yes.
UFC fighters
Yep.
have been through Fort Dodge, but
Yep.
I can't wait to follow the track team this year. I know you guys are going to have some really good things going on, and hopefully we can start a pipeline from Airey Bros
Yes.
Radio. Some of our listeners
That
got
was the last
ideas there.
question I had for you, Coach. It just popped into my head. I was curious, have you ever had an athlete from New Jersey on the team?
Yes.
You have.
Yes. Oddly enough, he came to me for a while, and then Jafet Molinaris there got him a few years later in life. I don't know I can't remember if they were teammates or if Jafet was volunteering while he was up here with me. So yeah,
Okay.
Eldad Mulageta, uh, very, very talented runner. So
Okay.
yeah, we're very select on who we pick from New Jersey. Okay.
Oh, you should be. You should be.
But I feel like I need to mention one more thing. And we are hosting the National Cross Country Championships, NJCA Cross Country Championships and Half Marathon Championships next fall, Fort Dodge, Iowa. And I'm hoping we can find a way to get the Airey brothers involved
Say
in some
less.
shape or form.
Say less.
Coach,
Yes.
we were talking about it yesterday, so
Yeah.
just know it's in our brains.
Good, good. We've had some conversations at the convention talking about ideas because what we've hosted nationals in 2013, 15, 17, and then 2020. And for me, it's an event. It's not a race, okay? Because this is an experience for some of these kids. They will never do anything like this again. Like some of these kids, they graduate and they're done with athletics. So I want this to be the pinnacle for them, like this is it. It's an event. So we do a banquet, we'll have Hall of Fame, guest speakers, swag for them. And so I really want to make a big deal. We've talked about having some type of, round table maybe with some of the top ranked coaches or athletes and, doing an interview type thing with them and just having some fun, doing some new things we haven't done. And like you guys do, getting the word out about junior college. So we're
Say
excited.
less, Coach. We're excited, and it's on the calendar. So
Perfect.
synchronize the thinking we had there
Yes.
on our
Awesome.
Sunday meetings, Jimmy and I. So, Coach, it's been an honor and pleasure chatting with you again, and good luck. Safe travels up to Brookings. Say hi to
Yes.
Coach DeHaven for us.
Yes.
Tell him the Airey Bros are asking for him, and
I will.
we'll be following and rooting for you,
Great.
and the Iowa Western people as well too.
Yeah, yeah. We'll like be like Iowa Central and Iowa Western, like that. I get you. Yeah.
Okay. Have a great night, Coach. Safe
Yep. Thanks,
travels.
guys.
Enjoy. Take care.
Yep. Take care.